everyone. This is Ranjit Paul, a Group Director at Informa Markets in India. As Informa Markets, we have been doing multiple shows around the year in the pharma and biopharma space. Over the last 3 years, we've been connecting with you through Biopharma Conclave. This year, we plan to spruce up and decided to bring dignitaries, and their experience closer to you months before the event that is on 14th to 15th of September this year in Mumbai. We are starting from this month a video interview with notable people from the biopharma industry that will continue every month till September. The core focus of these Talk with Biopharma stalwarts is to bring you the connect which is exclusive and which you would not find in any other forums. We hope these exclusive videos will help you understand the mindset of these leaders and learn more from them. Today, we are honored and privileged to have in our midst a very special guest, Dr. Narendra Chirmule, who is the co-founder and CEO of SymphonyTech Biologics, a data analytics company focused on engineering solutions to biology, as our first guest of honor. As former head of R&D at Biocon in Bangalore, and who has had leadership positions in Amgen and Merck's vaccines, he has contributed to clinical development of vaccines and biopharmaceuticals. He's also teaching and doing research as assistant professor in gene therapy at University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Chirmule is also the NIH advisory part of the advisory committee for the HIV vaccines. Once again, very warm welcome to you, Dr. Chirmule. Recently, you came back to India since the pandemic began, and you've been traveling across India. That includes your recent cycling trip to the northeast part of India too. So in this journey, I mean, have you noticed or found some changes in the way things were or are in India?
Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to talk to you. It's such a pleasure to be with part of your organization. I've worked with your organization and you for several years now, at least 4 or 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things I love about what you do is the consistency and the predictability of the meetings that you have and everyone knows that this, high quality presentations happen in this meeting and the network opportunities are huge. So thank you for doing what you're doing. It's a very important component of building a culture and an environment where biotechnology and drug development can flourish in India. So thank you for that. Regards to your question about whether it is different now before COVID and after COVID, because I was away for 2 years, and I've had a unique opportunity to see what was outside and then what it is now. If I have to put it in a few words, I would say all of us, I mean society at large, is now aware of science much more. किसी को भी पूछो, if it's okay if I talk in Hindi, सबको clinical trials के बारे में पता है. क्या होता है पता नहीं है, लेकिन clinical trials होता है. I was just presenting in a school in Dearwan today, just now, and I asked these high school kids from 10th and 12th grade about, what do you know about COVID? I said, they told me everything. They told me clinical trial. They may not know the word pharmacology. They may not know the word toxicology, but they know animal mein testing hota hai. So a kid sitting in front of the class, I asked him, these people have made the vaccine. Will you take it? He said, no, jab tak testing nahi hota, tab tak nahi lunga. So the community at large is much more aware of science than ever before. And I think that is palpable. And I can tell many things, but that is the one thing I feel the 2 years has made a big difference in a positive direction.
That's great. I mean, moving from now philosophy to science. So what, according to you, is the difference in how developing and developed countries view biosimilars and drug development, and how does this vision impact the recovery of the economy of this country?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. I think first we have to understand the healthcare systems of different countries are very different, or different regions are very different. The United States is a very unique market. It is a huge proportion of the United States public gets its health insurance, gets its health through insurance. So majority of the people are insured either through their employer or privately or the government insurance system. So they have an insurance system. So it doesn't matter to them if trastuzumab costs 1 lakh or 10,000 rupees. They are not paying the cost of the trastuzumab. They are paying hafta of the insurance premium, right? So the general public is not directly impacted by, I'm using the word precisely, but they're not directly impacted by the cost of the drug. It is ridiculously high, but the general public doesn't necessarily see it on a day-to-day basis, because not coming out of the pocket. I'm saying this is not for everybody, but for the majority of the people in the US who have insurance. So that is the healthcare market in the US. In Canada and in the UK, it's a government system. So the NHS system in the UK has a brilliant system where everybody has access to all healthcare, and there also for the person who's getting the treatment, doesn't matter how much trastuzumab costs, right? However, in India, majority of the market is out of pocket. So if you need trastuzumab, for the most part, you might have to get it through your own fundraising possibilities, your family, friends, khud ka dena hai. So the economies of these different countries for various reasons or healthcare systems are very different. So one size fits all doesn't work. In biosimilars in India, we've made a fantastic progress. Literally, I would say about, I don't know the real exact number, about 30 biosimilars may be already approved by different companies in India. India has been very good at biosimilar development, and historically also. I'll tell you a little bit about India, and let me finish this answer to this question, and maybe I'll take this other historical part later. But long answer to your short question. India in biosimilars is very important for India to get the biosimilars right, because then it makes medicines affordable.
Right. So since COVID-19, we have seen a landscape of change in the India biopharma sector. And so what are the major factors that you feel can help secure a better growth in the same?
In the healthcare sector, right? Or pharma sector? Pharma
The
and
biopharma.
healthcare.
Yes.
Biopharma. Okay. So let me tell you the story that I've been sort of working on for myself, and as well as for what I want to do now, and what I am doing in the last several years now, is educating people on what it takes to develop a drug. Today, if you look at papers published in journals like Nature Biotechnology, etc., if you look at review articles and you look at the cost of what it takes to develop a drug today, it is somewhere in the $1 billion range, $1 to $2 billion it takes to develop one novel drug. A biosimilar may take a global biosimilar, a biosimilar that is made somewhere and sold in the world, may take about somewhere between 100 and 200 million dollars, 10-fold less, right? And a generic small molecule drug can be made in the range of $10 million, 10 to 20, 10-fold less than biosimilars, right? So you can imagine small molecules to biosimilars to novel drugs, each one is a log-fold different from each other, right? So how can we reduce the $100-200 million down to $10 million? There are many ways you can do it. You can improve efficiency. You can improve how the speed to develop drug. You can do regulations to see whether you can do optimal clinical trials to make the clinical trials smaller, because usually the largest cost of drug development is in the clinical trial phase. So systematically, we will be able to do it. And why? So let me digress a little bit about, I try to answer the question about affordability of biosimilars and what it takes to develop biosimilars. The story about India, in my view, as I've been studying and reading it for the last several decades, is before India signed the World Trade Organization Treaty in 2008, it was a different development process for India. And companies like Ranbaxy, Cipla, others, did a phenomenal job of developing small molecules. Cipla, for example, contributed to reduction of HIV/AIDS in countries like Africa in a huge way, right? They were able to make these drugs incredibly affordable, which would not have been affordable if this competition hadn't been brought about by India. And the Indian companies were able to do it because the World Trade Organization treaty process allowed these companies to be able to manufacture these small molecules on a very large scale, innovatively, and reduce the price of. So India used generically, by India I mean all the companies in India who are manufacturing small molecule drugs, became a master at developing drugs. Today, 40 to 50% of all drugs that are sold in the United States are made in India. Either it's API or some raw material. So huge contribution to the development of drugs worldwide. And that came in that decade of 1990, 2010 timeframe till the 2008 treaty. Even today, India is probably the largest manufacturer of small molecule drugs. And now we know vaccine undoubtedly largest manufacturer of vaccines in the world. So we have become very good at large scale manufacturing. Now let's move 10 years later to biosimilars. Developing biosimilars is not easy, very difficult. I've worked on biosimilars, and some say that it's probably more difficult to develop a biosimilar than a novel molecule. So it's like the CMC part is so difficult that you have to, because you're constrained by the criteria of the novel drug developer, and that's how you have to develop your drug, right? But since I think Indian companies have learned how to become efficient through the small molecule process, I think those same processes will be applied to biosimilars. We will be in the next decade or so become much more efficient in making biosimilars, and we'll be ready to provide the world with biosimilars if everything goes right as planned. So let me pause here because I think I've been giving you very long answers.
Yeah, that was really good to know, to see where the growth is in forecast. Now, since you have had the experience in living and working both in the US and India, so that takes me to the next question. So what are your thoughts on the potential collaboration between Indian and foreign players?
Average is my immediate answer, and I'll tell you the reason why. For some reason, and I can't put my hand on that pulse, in India, we don't collaborate very well. And I know it sounds like an accusatory process, but I feel like I don't say that lightly. We've written a manuscript on this topic in the Indian Journal of the National Academy of Sciences in 2021. So we've really thought through this process. So what I think needs to happen in India is we need to get into the habit of collaboration. I think there are very little collaborations India to India itself. Like, even academic collaborations, very few collaborations between academic institutions and industry. Very almost rare collaborations between a Biocon and some Orbindo on develop. There may be one, like somebody may say, "Arey nahi, wo hai na ek out of the 20,000 drugs that ek hai usme." Aisa nahi hona chahiye. There will be like huge collaboration, right? Collaboration means completely working together. And the most important point that I make for you, that you are making a difference, is you're bringing people from the same organizations or from different organizations together in one platform. I was head of R&D in Biocon. Other than your conference, it was very rare for me to meet a head of R&D of Cipla, of Orbindo, of Dr. Reddy's. There was no forum for me to meet them. Collaboration to jani do. No forum for me to have conversations with them. You are creating that environment for collaboration. That's India ke India mein. Now, in the US, absolutely. There are a lot of companies who are collaborating with India, with US companies right now and co-developing lots of drugs. Biocon has a relationship with Viatris, which used to be Mylan, and many other. All companies have some relationship with some foreign company. I think that is not collaboration. That's really partnership and something. It's not precisely collaboration. I think a lot of work needs to be done on collaboration, and a forum like yours will enable it.
Right, and just adding on to the same question regarding collaboration between India and foreign players, is that to do with is it a cultural issue, trust issue? Where do you think are the root cause for it?
All of the above.
All.
All of the above. It is like I say this. I love to give analogies, and just pitch my book, the book that I wrote, Good Genes Gone Bad. One of the things that the editor, Gurveen Chadha, who's my editor of this book, told me when I wrote the book first, is to give analogies. When you have a complicated thing, give an analogy so that it starts looking simpler, right? So the analogy for collaboration that I like to use, and many other things that I like to use, when you go to a gym to do exercise, you don't pick up a 200 kilogram weight on the first day. First day you pick up 10 kilograms, then 20, then 50, then 100. Later on you'll get to 200, but start with 10. Same thing with collaborations. Start with small collaborations, then the big ones will come. Let's start with the 10. And so 10 kilogram collaborations. And I think that is happening already. I think I see the 10 kilogram weight equivalent collaborations happening quite a lot. We need to get to 200. It will come, but sessions like yours, session like the Venture Center does, C Camp does, other conferences that the Department of Biotechnology has, all of these forums will enable collaborations to happen where you collaborate because there is synergies, not because he's my friend. That is easy to do.
Right. So baby steps is what you're suggesting.
Baby steps.
Okay. So the pharma private sector allocates, most of its investments to development rather than research, and we have not been able to come up with a significant new molecule, especially with certain diseases like malaria and TB. That's very unique to India. So according to you, Dr. Naren, what will it take to spur the growth of the innovation culture in this country?
I think it is sort of the same answer I'm going to give you like I did, baby steps. So I'll put it all together and try to see if I can give you a succinct answer for this really important question. In the same thing that I just talked to you about, 2008 to 2008 and earlier, small molecule industry became very good at making generic molecules. They became masters of that technology. 2010 to let's say 2020, the next decade, a lot of Indian companies started becoming great at biosimilars. Now we need to start working on novel molecules. So the analogy, again, I love to give the analogies, is with generic molecules, we were in elementary school. Elementary school में सीख लिया वो सब. Biosimilars high school आ गए, right? Novels college में हैं. PhD तो आएगा बाद में, लेकिन जा रहे हैं हम लोग PhD की तरफ. So we are there. We are on the path. See, we have to also remember that novel molecules were developed 30, 40 years ago from the United States. That's because 60, 70 years ago, they were doing basic research. Like all the seminal discoveries in science that were happening when DNA was being discovered, when Hargobind Khorana discovered the genetic code, or when all of these fantastic discoveries were happening, right? We were in 1947. हम लोग कुछ नहीं कर सकते थे उस टाइम. अब भी जाके थोड़ा सा कॉलेज में आए हैं.
Right. So it's just a matter of time we'll get there.
It is a matter of time. Our education system in India is par excellence. Fantastic education system we have. It is all those things coming together. It is happening. It is happening. The next decade is an exciting time for biotechnology and pharmaceutical development.
Great. So Dr. Naren, what are your thoughts on the exhibition and conferences, especially Biopharma Conclave, that has been significant in bringing innovation and discoveries to the forefront and helping the industry and the business at large? And how, according to you, are these businesses and governments looking at the sector globally?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons I like to work with your team, and Akanksha and others have been instrumental in reaching out to me every time, which is great. I love it. But I feel like consistency is very important. पहले तो वो box to checks कर लेना चाहिए. That is the simple box to check, right? I know it's very hard work to do a conference like yours, especially at COVID times. You did it both in the whole thing was online last year. It was a fantastic exhibition last year in a beautiful 3D kind of video, and I just loved it. But you were consistent. You did not give up, right? That is, people should expect that coming from you. The other thing is you are able to attract good people, good meaning people who are doing cutting edge work to your conference, both from India as well as from the other parts of the country. You have been able to mix a lot of different things, which is, basic research. Some people come and talk about basic research. To somebody may come and talk about supply chain and everything in between. Therefore, the forum that you create, everybody will find something interesting in the forums that you have. Now, this year, you have instituted a formal scientific advisory board, which you've asked me to chair, which I'm delighted to do. And we had our first meeting a couple of months ago. And we've got feedback from them as to how we can further improve things that you are doing. I feel that everybody we've talked to feels like we are in the right direction. And now that consistency now needs to be, the slope of that quality curve needs to be deepened. How can we do that? By doing exactly what you're doing, getting people from all walks of pharma, not just scientists, but also the HR person or maybe the supply chain person, and make them talk. Right? The HR person can say, where can I get the best talent from my research company? And the science person can say, what are you teaching in colleges, which is relevant to me? You are like, they can, so when you have the diversity of group in the conference, that's when everything sort of boils. You create a boiling pot where, fantastic dish can be made. So you have to have all the ingredients. So you are getting all the ingredients. And so I think it's working out really well. I'm excited about the September meeting.
Thank you for your kind words, and it's always our continuous endeavor to ensure we get the best quality events and getting great minds together so that we all can benefit out of it.
Yeah.
Coming to the last question, Dr. Naren, you have worn so many hats effortlessly. What is your secret mantra, and what is it that you seek further?
I wish I could say that answer easily, but I like to listen to a lot of gyan given by a lot of people. Then, believe it or not, for WhatsApp University, में बहुत ज्ञान मिलता है, but you have to actually take it with a grain of salt. There are many things that I do which help me, but one simple thing that I like to do, and I've heard about this before, I do it, and hearing the TED talk about it reinforced what I do is, I think, good. I think it says that keep doing things all the time that you love to do, and do the most difficult things when you have the most energy in the day. So if I have to read papers, intellectual papers, difficult papers to read, if I have to do some really important writing work, if I have to think, like if I need a lot of my brain cells to do something, I'm an early morning person. So I do that from 5 to 8 o'clock in the morning, because that's sort of when I can concentrate the most. At the end of the day, I'll just do whatever, like the least important thing. Like I like to paint, and painting for me is, or I like to play tabla, or I like to play the flute, or something. Those are not important. I sometimes play flute in the morning also, because if my teacher has told me to play some rag, I can't do that in the evening if I have to do it thoughtfully. I have to do it 5 to 8 in the morning. But if I have to just do it for relaxation, I will do it in the night. So I try to do my most important things that I want to do. Everything is important. My most, you know what I mean. I use my energy to do the most important. Come energy hota, then I do some less priority thing. And that's how I just keep checking the box and just keep doing things. I don't know. That's sort of, I have no idea actually. I just love living life.
That's great. I think with that, Dr. Naren, we come to the end of the interview. It was an absolute pleasure interacting with you and listening, your insights on various on the subject matter. Thank you very much, and looking forward to collaborating again with you.
And thank you very much. And really, thank you very much for doing what you guys do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for supporting us.